reports to my administration, I typically say this program takes anywhere from 25 to 30% of my total time. The Town of Slave Lake's program is administered by a single individual, that is myself, the Manager of Communications and Economic Development, and I fall within the Corporate Services Department of the Town of Slave Lake. I issued offer letters to the MD of Lesser Slave River, Big Lakes County, yourself, and the MD of Opportunity. I presented to the MD of Lesser Slave River in October, and a decision is still pending on whether or not they wish to join the program. Like yourselves, they are seeing some feedback from the business community that really want them to participate. Any questions on background before we proceed? Sensing none, I'll just keep on trucking. Okay. The Town of Slave Lake Rural Renewal Process. So on the right-hand side of the screen and on your sheet, you'll see a little infographic that I've created that explains the 9 steps that's involved in the rural renewal stream process for the Town of Slave Lake. I will start out by saying the rural renewal stream does not solve some of the existing issues in our region when it comes to labor attraction and recruitment efforts. I know when I presented to the MD of Lesser Slave River, lack of affordable housing was a huge concern from them. Unfortunately, this program does not help that. It's bringing more people to our community, and this program has nothing to do, unfortunately, with providing more affordable housing. The Town of Slave Lake Rural Renewal Stream requires employers to take an active and lead role with the support of the Town of Slave Lake in ensuring endorsed candidates successfully settle and integrate into the community. This is particularly true for candidates in neighboring municipalities such as here, as there may not be as many settlement resources in their destination community compared to the Town of Slave Lake. Employers that are not willing to take a lead role in assisting endorsed candidates settle into the community will simply not be accepted into the program. I'm the sole discretion. I make all the decisions on whether or not an employer is approved to be part of the program. In my employer application, which is step 2 of the rural renewal stream process, there are 2 major questions that I'm looking to have answered by the business community. One is, what are they going to do to assist their candidate in finding affordable housing? And number 2, what are they going to do to assist their candidate in ensuring they have safe and reliable transportation, particularly in the winter months, recognizing that we don't have a municipal bus service. Employers that are not willing to assist their candidates in finding those 2 things will not be accepted into the program. To quickly run through the process, step 1 always starts with the employer. The employer submits an application form to myself. I will review it. Once again, the 2 biggest questions I'm looking for are, how are you going to assist your candidates in housing and transportation? If I approve that employer to be part of the program, they provide me with an existing job link. It can be on Indeed, Job Bank, Indigenous Careers, any of those internet services, as long as it's an active link. Then what happens is I post that link to the Town of Slave Lake website, Rural Renewal Job Posting Board. Then candidates use that job posting board to directly apply to employers. I am not involved in selecting candidates. I'm not involved in the hiring process. Candidates directly apply to the employers. Once the employer has found a suitable candidate, they submit, unfortunately, another form, which is an application form for a letter of endorsement, as well as a signed job offer. I need to see that signed job offer that's signed by both the candidate and the employer. Once I have both those documents, I issue a letter of endorsement directly to the candidate. Once the candidate receives that letter of endorsement, they then use that letter to apply to be a part of the Alberta Advantage Immigration Program. If they are nominated by the province, they then enter the federal immigration system. So one thing I want to make abundantly clear is, while this is a quote-unquote faster track to permanent residency, this is by no means a fast track. Immigration processes take a very long time. So in conversations with municipalities across the province, we were actually on a call today. The City of Grand Prairie, who's been part of the program since the very beginning, suggests that for a true international candidate, from starting application to landing in Grand Prairie is a minimum of 9 months. Minimum. And those times are only getting longer as the backlogs continue at Immigration and Refugee Citizenship Canada. So I want to make it very, very clear that this is a medium-term solution. This is not a short-term solution. You will not find a candidate that will be willing to work, a true international candidate that will be ready to work in a couple weeks. That being said, the other stream for those existing residents that are here on an open work permit can start working immediately, and their application just churns through the system. If their work permit is due to expire while it's still in the system, they can apply to extend their work permit. Once again, the town of Slave Lake is not involved in the immigration process. We do not assist candidates in their immigration applications. I get questions all the time from candidates asking for assistance in the immigration realm. I'm not a professional immigration consultant. The advice I give to them is seek out one. There are several in the region, and they are professionals that can help you through the process. Any questions so far? Yes.
So you say that you want the employers to be able to supply them with housing?
Not supply, assist.
Assist?
Yes.
And transportation?
That's correct.
So the employer brings someone over.
Yep.
They work 3 weeks and quit and go work for someone else. How is the employer protected in this?
The letter of endorsement is revoked, and their work status is also revoked.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any further questions before I continue? Sensing none. Moving right along. Roles and responsibilities. So if the town of High Prairie agrees to be part of the program, the town of Slave Lake will manage and administer the program on your behalf using the existing management structure that I've created. So for example, job vacancies will be posted to the Town of Slave Lake Job Board. Letters of endorsement will be issued on Town of Slave Lake letterhead. However, the Town of High Prairie can create its own links and job posting board or other parallel processes explaining the rural renewal stream on its website. But that is the responsibility of the Town of High Prairie to implement, and it must use Town of Slave Lake language where applicable. I will provide your team with the templates and the partially completed drafts of the communication collateral that I've created to date for this program, and that will be used to communicate the details of this program to your residents. Distribution of that information to Town of High Prairie businesses and residents will be the responsibility of the Town of High Prairie. Once again, I will provide your team with all the materials they need, but they need to use their existing distribution networks I'm not going to log into the Town of High Prairie Facebook page and do this for you. The Town of Slave Lake does not market this program outside of its usual communication channels, so typically we use our website, obviously, social media, and we also have a alert app that we use in town. If you do agree to be part of the program, the Town of High Prairie will appear as a designated community nested under the Town of Slave Lake's community designation status on the provincial website. So for example, the Sawridge First Nation has already partnered with the Town of Slave Lake. So when you go to the provincial website and you see the list of communities, designated communities, it says Town of Slave Lake, and then under that it says including Sawridge First Nation. If the Town of High Prairie was to agree to be part of the program, it would be including Sawridge First Nation and the Town of High Prairie and potentially the MD of Lesser Slave River. The Town of Slave Lake will provide contact information for the responsible manager, that is myself, for Town of High Prairie businesses to call upon and ask questions and seek clarification. Any questions on roles and responsibilities? No, sensing none. Moving right along. Performance to date. So a total of 34 employers in the Town of Slave Lake have been approved to participate in the program. A total of 65 letters of endorsement have been issued to candidates to fill local job vacancies. It's about a 50-50 split. 34 of these candidates are true newcomers. The vast majority are coming from South Asia, India. We also have a few candidates from the Philippines and Africa, but the vast majority are coming from South Asia. 31 are existing residents. So these are the folks that are here on temporary work visas that are looking to use this program to quote unquote get a faster track to permanent residency. Once again, the Town of Slave Lake does not assist employers in the selection of candidates, nor does it assist candidates in their immigration applications. Permanent residency decisions are the sole discretion of the Government of Canada. Moving on. Potential risks or unknowns for the Town of High Prairie. Obviously, the biggest unknown is the number of town businesses that will want to take advantage of the program. Businesses located outside of the Town of High Prairie that are located in Big Lakes County, for example, Toco, will not be able to participate in the program unless Big Lakes County agrees to participate. The influx of new workers may worsen the already challenging housing situation, which I touched upon briefly. And another unknown or potential risk is the lack of settlement services in the region. So candidates not settling successfully into the community due to not being fully prepared or aware of what life is like in rural northern Alberta. The town of High Prairie will need to provide the town of Slave Lake with a list of support resources available in your community. So part of the communication collateral I've created for this program is I've created a welcome package for all the candidates that are landing in town. And in that welcome package, I have a comprehensive list of all the services and programs and supports that are available in town and elsewhere, and some of our family and community support services program, the FCSS programming. So if the town of High Prairie has any of those programming and support services, I'll need to know. Because if you agree to be part of the program, obviously I will need to revise these documents to reflect the town of High Prairie context. The town of Slave Lake has partnered with the Grand Prairie Center for Newcomers for candidates to access settlement services provided by that center. Those settlement services can be done virtually or in person. One of the questions I ask on employer application forms are they willing to transport their candidate to and from the Grand Prairie Center for Newcomers for at least one in-person visit? I typically like to see yes on that. If they're not willing, we can go through virtual programming, but I'd really like to see at least one in-person visit to that Grand Prairie Center for Newcomers, because what they'll do is they'll conduct what they call a needs assessment for that candidate. And they'll come back to me with a list of needs or support services that particular candidate will require, and then we'll work with our community partners to ensure that they receive those supports. Well, after that initial visit, other visits can be done virtually, but I am expecting employers to support their candidates in their settlement to life in High Prairie. And then once a candidate has been nominated, I conduct an interview with them to ensure that they're receiving all their supports they need from both myself, our community partners, and the employer. And I'll also ask if there's any fraudulent activity going on within the employer. In conversations with my colleagues today across the province, there's a pretty big issue, especially down south, with immigration consultants and other folks charging candidates for a letter of endorsement. I heard an example today where one immigration consultant charged a candidate $25,000 for a letter of endorsement. That is illegal. That is not allowed. Particularly if the town of High Prairie comes on, because I don't know the business community very well here. I know it very well in Slave Lake. Or if I think there's a problem, I can just call up. I'm going to have to do my due diligence and follow up with the employers to ensure that none of these fraudulent activities are going on. And that, in a nutshell, is it. Questions, comments, concerns?
Any questions? No? If we get started, how quickly could we get started in the program where employers could get start applying and that? What's the process to get us going?
To join the program, all I'll need from the town of High Prairie is just a letter of support signed by administration. Once I receive that letter of support, I submit it to the province, and they add us to the list. Once you're added to the list, we can hit the ground running. It typically takes the province about a week to get you up on the site, but once you're up on the site, we can hit the ground running. Like I said, my management structure is already in place. I'll just need to make some revisions to some of the collateral to reflect the town of High Prairie context. Application processing time is entirely dependent on my workload. I get some pretty frustrated employers that have to, they're waiting a week for their letter of endorsement, and simply I haven't got to it in time. So I say on our website, up to 30 days for application processing, but typically I get them all done within a week. Ditto with letters of endorsement.
Okay, gives me a good idea. And the fee is just paid once annually?
Once annually.
Regardless
It's a
of how
one-time
many
fee.
people apply?
Yeah, it does. Once you're part of the program, you could have 5 businesses, you could have 50 businesses signed up. There is no cap.
Okay.
And once again, that fee is just to cover administrative time. And I can tell you, there is a lot of administrative time that goes into this program.
Yeah, no, we've heard that, yeah. So, all right, no other questions?
Great.
Well, I'll thank you for taking the time to come down and, braving the roads and maybe not the best weather, so thank you for coming
Yeah,
down.
I'll stick around here for the business community, and then once they're done, maybe I'll just pop out into the lobby for 5 minutes.
Perfect,
If
yeah.
any of you want to ask me questions, that would be the time, and then I'm going to go back.
Okay, thank you
very
for
much
that,
your
yep.
time.
All right, well, and related, but different contingency to come up, we have some of the town of High Prairie businesses, and I'll throw it open to who would like to come up and speak on behalf. Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys, for having us here. Thank you, Jason, for traveling from Slave Lake to High Prairie in such a snow. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe we can get you to sit down, and if you speak into the mic there, it'll be better, so thanks.
So my name is Suraj Patel. I own the Pharmaceuve and High Prairie Fitness as well as Park Theatre in town. I heard about this stream through some of the mutual business partners, and I really think that this business stream will really help us, help a small town such as High Prairie. Everybody else surrounding, like they are already a partner, and the challenge that we face as a business owner is having a stable employment. And if we do get a stable employees who can stay and work with us for 2 years, 3 years, it will help to provide the same level of customer service that we have been providing, and it creates a more opportunity to bring people in, as well as you never know, those people they will stay here and create more businesses, and it will support the economy for town as well. And since town of Slave Lake is ready to support this stream, I would highly appreciate that. It's really good program, and since they are supporting us, we should be a part of the program as well. Anybody else needs to say something?
You're covering everything.
Yeah, it's just basically follow up. So I spoke with maybe 15 people, 15 business people, and they are all agreed for this stream. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it here. Like team from Dairy Queen and gas station, Ali from Boondocks, Tim Horton owners. I think they already approached to this stream before even we started. So they told us if you need any kind of support, they can come from Peace River, but they couldn't make it today. But most of the businesses, I have 9 or 10 people who signed here, and we are 4 people, Robina from KFC, Pranav from Pizza Hut, Sam from Esso. So we only 4 or 5 people, only we were able to make it here. But we have support from most of the businesses in town.
Okay, awesome, thank you for that, and it's great to have
you.
you come in. Is there any questions for him? I don't see, oh.
So are you guys struggling for staff,
Stable staff.
stable staff?
Stable staff. Like if we hire somebody, stay there for 2 months, 3 months, and then they got another opportunity and they move on. Right?
yeah.
And then I have to go through all the training again with the new staff, and then I won't have any family life. Like basically it happened in last 2.5 years, too much. Like even with the stable employees, it's very big challenge.
I took over the business in August. Since August, I have more than 10 people who came and moved. One person just joined in November. He left last week without any notice. So it says, I'm struggling over here. I can't find this. I can't find this. So that's just the excuse. But people are moving, and the reason he moved because he moved to one of the designated committee because his paperwork was going fast track. So that's one of the challenge, and we get lots of applications or the inquiries. Okay, when we put the job posting, the first question they ask is the town supporting for the renewal program, and if we say no, we are planning to get into it. I got another business in St. Paul, in Vegreville, and those towns are supporting and they want to move there. Can we get the post job in that town? So these are the more major concerns we are facing these days. So I would really appreciate if we can get into the program. It would be really benefited to the
But
community.
even with this program, you will still run that risk of training an employee and then moving on.
Like, they will at least stay stable for a year or two for sure. It's not that fast. I can, like the person who stays for 6-7 months, they don't move faster. The movement or the rotation happens in a first couple months, and once they have their stability, like they are getting their permanent residency over here, they will definitely stay for 2 months, 2 years or longer for sure.
All right. No other questions?
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you for coming in. And we had one other scheduled delegation, McSteel, if you'd like to come up.
I just realized how much coffee I had today, so if I talk too much, I just want to get in on all the conversation.
Yeah.
Before I start, I just wanted to say we have the same problem too. We consistent people, and had I known there was a group, like someone contact me, because right now we're in the process of doing the LMIA application, and if the stream is faster,
LMIA is faster.
is it? There we go. Done. Oh, I'm on now. So I'm Jocelyn Weens. I am the office manager for McSteel Salvage and Cleanup. And I'm actually just here to follow up on a outstanding development permit, which we submitted a few times, not to you guys, for to say. So thank you for having me here, and I look forward to progressing on this issue. It first started in July. We submitted our application to transportation for a sign on Highway 2 and 50th Avenue, which is just kind of like kitty corner for our scrapyard. And then they said that was your property, so I submitted another proposal and a development permit to the development board, and then I don't know, lack of communication, I suppose. It was tabled, and then I was told to bring it towards you guys, so that was November 14th, and I have the proposal here if you want me to read it. It's quite lengthy, and I'd rather talk. So, yeah, so here we are. We've come up with some ideas that might spark some interest to allow us to place a sign on that corner, and I'd like to hear possibly a motion to allow us to put a sign there, and the possibilities that we could bring to having us put a sign there.
All right, you had said you had some ideas that would make it, allow you to do it? What were the
Yes.
ideas that you were thinking? I'm just trying.
Well, it's actually, you guys kind of gave me the first idea. I noticed in the paper that you guys are renting land, and that the rent that you got from the land was money towards the food bank, and that follows our integrity and honesty as a company, and we're a very family-oriented business, and we want to see people get fed. So we were hoping that if we rented that land, that rent would go to the community, or we could submit, like however you want to do it. We also propose that we would look after the garden that's there and the grass, and that's the start of it anyways.
Okay. Any other questions? Yep, go ahead.
So I know I live in High Prairie, but I'm terrible with addresses. What land piece are you actually talking about?
There's a little corner piece, so you know where the kind of the car dealership is, and there's the Martin Deer line coming up, and you know where the scrapyard is. So if you're gonna come down the street past the scrapyard, on the right-hand side, right along the creek, there's a flower bed, and it's 0.25 acres. You can't commercialize it. There's nothing there but a flower bed, but it's a perfect place for a sign, and it could point right to us. So that's the location of it.
And the purpose of your sign is just to say McSteel?
Yeah, McSteel
Just an
Salvage.
advertisement sign, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it is, and there's multiple reasons why we want to put it up there. Like it's increased visibility for our company, of course, right? And it's the community engagement. Like we're kind of like, we refer ourselves to like scrap metal cowboys. Like they're very low key people, and we contribute to the community a lot, and we want to encourage more community engagement indirectly with our sign. We have a lot of groups approach us for money, which we donate to, and we support the local economy. And I was going to bring you some numbers, but I just, honestly, I feel like if that was something that really needs to be talked about, it could be maybe tabled for the next meeting. But, and then, yeah, we just want to keep our presence known in the community. We direct a lot of traffic to us. And with the upcoming fire season, we want to make sure that people of the surrounding areas, we're fire ready. So we're going to have a dry season, and we have been cleaning up so much fire burnt areas. Right now we're cleaning up retired salvage yards that we have around our area. You probably have some ideas of some towing companies. There's some people that have tried being a junkyard at one time and just weren't successful, and they're just kind of sitting there. So now we're cleaning them up. And not only are we buying the scrap from them, and we're giving them a lot of money for the scrap, but we're also protecting our community from the fire. So a lot of these vehicles are bombs, like they will explode. There's so many vehicles full of gasoline and diesel out there that it'll blow your mind. Not only like the non-ferrous materials that are in the vehicles, that are also melting and contaminating the soil. So having said all that, we're just environmentally, safe. We're actually certified now, Carrick, so we are probably the most certified through the environment in Alberta. We're one of the best scrapyards now. And we just want the environment and the High Prairie in the area and the people that we serve know that we're here for the community by putting that sign up. Yes.
Councillor Danek, go ahead.
I think in your one proposal of the one that we received at, I think, the last council meeting or the council meeting before.
Yeah,
or
November
whatever.
14th, right?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
You said with your sign that you were looking to be an electronic signs because you were going to advertise or hoping to advertise community events on it. Is that still what you're looking for?
You're very close, not far off from what actually it's in the information dissemination. Like we just want to, so here I put the sign will also serve as informative tool. So it's more like we're there for safety, we're there to care for the environment, we're supportive of local businesses. It won't be electronic because I feel like you need another permit. There's other things involved when you put an electronic sign. I did notice, I don't know if everybody's gone to Peace River, but so you're going up the west side, that the house all of a sudden has a humongous electronic sign, and it's so distracting. So we're not into that. No, we're not going to do that at all.
Okay.
It'll be a very nice, classy mixed steel salvage and cleanup sign. We're thinking maybe reflective because a lot of our trucks, I don't know if, because it's so dark, they leave in the dark and they come home in the dark, basically. So that's kind of what we're thinking about.
And do you have, I can't remember when we had that, do you have like dimensions of how big this, or what you're looking at size-wise?
Actually, Colin has all that information. Okay. Yeah, it was to be forwarded over, but it's going to be not billboard size, but it's going to be, I think it's going to be about 8 feet wide and probably 6 feet tall. Like it's going to be very simple. It's going to say mixed steel, salvage and cleanup. Right. And then I have all our certifications for Carrick, Arda. We are currently going to be on Fireline, and like just all those certifications at the bottom. Basically, that's all it's going to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? I had just one question is, why would you want to put it there versus on your property? Or could,
Oh, well, that's an easy question, and thank you for asking that. It's the flow of traffic. Like, honestly, it hits so many sides. Like, it comes from the west side, it comes from the east, and when you're, like, it's just a very great place. It's an opportunity for the town of High Prairie to make a little extra income, and it helps us too. So it's kind of like, you know, a partnership with you guys to help you guys rent out that land, and it helps us with advertising.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more questions? No? Can we get some resolve, or how do you guys propose to move this forward?
Well, we'll have to, with all of these things, we don't usually make a decision tonight. We'll usually bring it back as a request for a decision at the next council meeting. So that's when we'll be debating it and finalizing decisions on it.
Would there be anything stopping the council from making a decision? Like, is there any other permitting that a person needs to try and get to get the sign up?
I'll pass that to our CAO.
So council may recall at the last meeting when this was before council requested that administration report back on what other communities are doing in terms of the public right-of-ways and the like. So that report will be prepared. It won't be coming to the next council meeting. I advise McSteel then once that report's drafted and it's in a position to go on the council agenda, they'll be provided a copy for they can provide any feedback they have on the report. But there's still an outstanding report in terms of what other communities are doing. Our current land use bylaw does not allow for signage on anything but private property. So this is an anomaly that has to be dealt with first before council can deal with amendments to the land use bylaw to permit such practices to happen, if that's the wish of council. But in a nutshell, there's a report outstanding.
Councilor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jocelyn, for coming in. Nice to meet you finally. You know, the last time this came to council, which was that November 14th meeting, I know the questions around here, we didn't have the luxury of having you present. We mostly, or at least I wanted to know how that community engagement, we were thinking bulletin board, we weren't sure if it was LED, you've answered some of those questions. I'm hearing you, and it sounds like, like, hey, McSteel, turn right here. I don't understand how it's going to engage with the community or provide any service or bulletin board type. You know how the town of High Prairie right outside here has a little LED and it says, you know, things that are advertised, Red Wings or whatever it is. How does, how would that, how would your sign provide that? Maybe I missed something. I know Councilor Danaka asked a similar question, but I didn't hear how it was going to be more than just a McSteel turn right here.
Great question, thank you. And I understand where you're coming from, and I feel like there could be some negotiation on that sign if the council prefers to have a certain type of sign. Like, say you guys would like us to have an LED sign to possibly engage the community by allowing groups to advertise on there, we could do something like that. For us personally, we're just thinking about the cleanup side of the community. We hire 24 local people right at this time, and again, it's a challenge right now to keep people staying at the scrapyard or working consistently. Like, it's a High Prairie thing, I think, but we would like to just that's the only thing we're focused on right now is promoting the business, promoting local community, promoting local spending. We buy everything local, and a lot of times if we can't get it, we search hard, and we go to Slave Lake or we go to Peace River. So to engage in the community and to bring people more awareness of the community through our sign, we could definitely amend the sign demographics of it, if you like, or just some sort of structural to be more willing to the community. We're open to suggestions, but we had to start somewhere because we knew that that piece of land was yours, and we need to get the ball rolling. And I feel like once we open this up, there's going to be many people that would be wanting to rent land from the town of High Prairie for signage and advertising and whatever. I think the possibilities will be open up quite a bit.
And that's precisely, you just took the words right out of my mouth. You've got 4 businesses sitting right behind you and more in the town, and that's exactly, it would be precedent setting for us, right? And then business XYZ is going to say, well, how come McSteel has this real estate or prime real estate for advertising? What about, so that's a question I think the council and administration have to really go at it and figure out how this is equitable to all. But thank you for presenting it.
Right, thank you. And you actually sparked an idea in my head too. Like along like the scrapyard, there's a bunch of trees and real estate really, there's enough room for signs. Like, I mean, we don't want to look like we're like a city and the billboards and it's all, a little overdone, but there is a lot of opportunity for businesses to advertise, and we need more advertising downtown to promote the businesses, and I feel like it'd be a great development motion on the council's part. But this concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyn, for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to public delegations. If anybody would like to address council, and I know there's at least one.
Okay, for those of you who don't know me, Tammy Kalita, Designs by Tam, been running a sign shop in this town for 38 years. Jocelyn's need for a sign on that corner is not just for her. There are probably 6 to 8 businesses in that south industrial area that would benefit from some kind of a project on that corner. I've always wanted to put something there because nobody can find me. I'm down by the water treatment plant. I'm a little bit farther. We've got Travis Yardley. We've got Carillion. We've got Allen's Welding. We've got like several in and out on that route. So I would suggest that you would do entertain something to go on that corner. And 6x8 is not big enough, girlfriend. When you start looking at Monahan Ford signs, those ones are billboards, and you want minimum size signage. It's all mathematics. And so I would actually encourage you guys all just to consider this on that corner, and maybe we can put together a corporate project for all the businesses on the south side of the tracks in that industrial area.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because you do see it in other communities
Yeah.
where there's, like going into Grimshaw, for instance, you see a corporate board going in, and it's not big enough. But you're right, our sign wouldn't be big enough. And I know Alan Smith, all of them would actually buy a place or a spot or rent an area on the stick to put their sign on.
Exactly.
And if I had more time in the day, I would petition the neighborhood, but I just think we should,
push it forward, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, our businesses people are leaving. Don't leave, guys. Don't leave. You're going to want to hear this. I'm wearing a different hat tonight. It's actually a very old hat. Brian Holmberg started Citizens on Patrol in 2005 in this community, and I was the secretary then. And, well, here we are a few years later, and I'm back being a secretary-treasurer on Citizens on Patrol. So I'd like to announce tonight that as of December 7th, we are now once again a registered society for High Prairie. Sergeant Jason Barber has been appointed as our RCMP liaison officer. We join approximately 50 other Alberta communities and 8 provinces with Canadian Citizens on Patrol. Last spring, 6 volunteers went for group training in Valley View with approximately 40 others from the province. Since that time, 9 more members in High Prairie have been trained. Alberta Citizens on Patrol is our cover and covers the insurance for all members once we're all certified and have our CRCs done. So High Prairie Citizens on Patrol is now proud to be extra eyes and ears for our RCMP and peace officers in our community. There are 5 additional COP programs available that we can deliver once we've received our training. We're currently only participating in vehicle patrols. All of the 7 ACOPA obligations have been met to meet for our status, except for money, of course. So we would like to know if any grants are available. I know Constable Bloom suggested that there was one, and we'd like to know if he actually did apply for it for us, and if there's any money going forward. If the town has some ideas, I know I've been fronting the money so far, and we need to have our first meeting officially yet and open a bank account. So it's all preliminary. Also, another ask would be like the grants, and if the town has any surplus vehicles. We've got members who are prominent and don't want to use their personal vehicles. So we were wondering if the town might have an old surplus vehicle that's insured, registered, and once we get money, we'd be able to put the gas in it. And then the members, I think we could recruit more members if they weren't using their personal vehicles. Some people are very particular, they don't want to be targeted on the streets. But they do like the idea of having a vehicle out on the streets showing that we are out there and we are doing something. I like the idea that it would be deckled up, we'd be able to go to parades, you know, just have it out visible so people know that there's somebody on the street watching. And then if the town did have a surplus vehicle that they didn't have any use for, please keep it in mind for us. I would like to commend the town. Thank you for your cooperation this last year. Even though we weren't a bona fide organization, you guys have stepped up to the plate. Bill helped facilitate a meeting with judicial system, the RCMP, and business owners. And we were able to come together last spring when things were really bad. And we were really upset with what was the direction our town was going. And the peace officers, excellent. They straddled their shifts. They covered up times where we weren't available to be out in the middle of the night. And so that was excellent. And then communication with the peace officers and maintenance staff was also excellent. When we found stashes, and like we calling them stashes, goods that are stolen and left in a place. And there's several places in town. We've got a stash map started now. And on the premise of what Grand Cache did, most of it is garbage. And so we just did cleanups. And so we would start collecting all this stuff. And if we found stolen merchandise, the RCMP were notified, and they promptly told us, do not bring it to the detachment. So any stolen stuff that we find, if it doesn't have a name on it that we can contact a person, we post it on Facebook, we found your item, and if it isn't retrieved, then a local business is offered to put a storage shed that we might be able to put the goods into. And if we can't do a big yard sale and have people come and identify their goods, then we'll actually sell it and raise money for the association. Copper wire, big thing right now. The other day we found copper pipe, I think it was behind the murals, and it still had a water meter attached to it, so I don't know who's missing a water meter. But they're taking copper down to the metal recycling plant there for money. Items taken from town properties are all being taken to the pawn shop as well. And we've identified a Jeep that sits behind the mural down by Northern Lakes College there. We're positive this Jeep is a pickup vehicle. So, and how that all came about, somebody posted a picture that there's a lawnmower with self-propelled brand new mower with a bag on the back of it on the mound behind the mural. And it was retrieved, put into secure lockup, and I'll give you my in. When these guys are on the street, I'm out looking for my dog. She's been dead for 2 years, but they don't know that. So I'm out looking for Misha, and they'll actually engage with me and try and sell me stuff. And so then that day, with the lawnmower going, I'm out there looking for my dog in the back of the theater, the old theater, and sure enough, 2 guys show up, and they were stashing stuff in the garbage can behind the theater there. So then they actually got on Ron there because they need to leave, Ron needs to leave them alone because they're helping me look for my dog. So it was quite hilarious. But in the long run, it was a direct route to the pawn shop and to that guy that was sitting there. He showed up while I was there, and then when the lawnmower wasn't there, when he showed up, he left. So there's more going on in our community that we know of. We're helping to remove all these stashes from all these different locations. Found items will be returned to the owners if we know who they are. And we would like to get more community involvement with us now that we're certified and ready to move on. Primarily, these evening patrols will be anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. Our commitment is 5 hours a month for each volunteer, just to keep them up to speed with COPA. We're talking about hosting a town forum, and it'll cover a whole bunch of different issues, but potentially we'd like to do recruitment at a town forum, and maybe it would be a great time to do that yard sale at the same time. We'll let you know when and where it is, and we invite each and every one of you to come, because there'll be information that you can help answer questions for the community that we can't. Now, our crime stats, you can pull it up on the RCMP app. Every one of you can download the RCMP app. It shows that our numbers have gone down significantly since January. We're down 42% in break and enters. We're down 36% on theft over and under $5,000. We're down 54% on possession of stolen goods. So I don't think we can take all the credit for it, because theft of motor vehicles has gone up 8%, which could be a completely different things. Now, I think we are making a bit of an impact so far, but I don't believe people are reporting their B&Es anymore, their thefts. Nobody's taking them seriously when they do call it in. Cops don't even show up. Now, for instance, I'll get to that in a minute. Unfortunately, it's a double-edged sword, because I know RCMP base their policing in dollars on complaints. And if they're not calling it in, they could say, well, your stats are down almost half. You know, you're not gonna need us anymore. You know, we'll move some people to a different detachment if you guys are doing such an efficient job. But it's still not solving the crime. It's still not solving what's going on our streets. Curious if the town was able to post in the community flyer in our bills each month, or our businesses, to encourage residents to report any and all criminal activities that are going on. Even if they just phone the RCMP and say, yes, my shed was broke into last night. In fact, one shed we just boarded up of Kemp's on the highway here. It's a biohazard with all the needles that are in it right now. And then the daughter got mad at me because said now they're gonna break into the house. So I never realized that it was an escalating problem as well. We might think we're doing good on one end, but these people will find somewhere else. So our latest win was the storage unit. I had somebody walk in front of my cameras at my store with backpacks and bags. And I'm sorry, I am the farthest, well, almost the farthest south business in town. Nobody walks across there at 10:30 at night with bags. Where are they coming from? So one of the other members came, picked me up, we went for a drive, and while we're sitting there, a local cab goes by and parks at the water treatment plant. Well, who are they picking up at the water treatment plant at 10:30 at night? Turns out, part of our investigation revealed the fence has been cut into the storage unit out by Travis Yardley's, the farthest southeast business in High Prairie. And there was stuff taken out of lockers, and it was all sorted out, ready to be taken. We almost drove over 2 skateboards that were in the middle of the field. So because of that, the RCMP showed up with 3 units. They went through the lockers. We threw everything back inside. We assisted them. They were happy to have us there. But it's still not on the app. You know, and I understand it's been Christmas, but that was almost 2 weeks ago now. Like, you would think that anything that is happening in our community would be recorded as a criminal activity on these maps. So what I'm saying is we can't completely trust statistics, because I don't think people are reporting them, first of all, or they think anything is gonna happen if they do report it. Going back to the GFL bins that are behind along the railroad tracks, I'm with GFL and I've got chains on my lids and a place to lock them, because you guys have the contract with them. I was hoping we might be able to get you guys to encourage them to put chains back on. None of those bins behind the railroad out there have any way of locking them and securing them. I know it's a pain for the owners to have to unlock it every time you throw garbage in, but it's better than us having to go and retrieve wheelbarrows and stolen goods that they're stashing in them until they can take it to the pawn shop when it opens. So that's just another ask that, you know, we'd like you to consider. None of this is, you know, written in stone. It's just ideas that have come up that we would like to, you know, work with you guys with. And we'll let you know when our first official meeting is, and hopefully we can be as successful as I hope we'll be in the future. So thank you, and just a quick update. I don't know if you guys need a copy of our incorporation status, but I can leave you that if you need it. And we do have an agreement with K Division to function. It is something that has been done with the province, that the RCMP are, they are mandated to work with us. So it is kind of a excellent cooperation between both sides. They like having us as eyes and ears, and we like having them to call when all we are is eyes and ears. So, any questions? Thanks.
I have a comment.
Okay.
I want to thank you guys for all you do. All the people involved in Citizens on Patrol. And this needs to be brought more to the public's awareness, because while they're sleeping and resting at night, you guys are out there supplementing law enforcement and retrieving a lot of stolen goods. And you guys have done a lot of good work. So thank you.
Thanks. I'll pass that on.
Councillor Danaka, Councillor Wakel.
I just want to reiterate what Councillor Stenhouse has said. It's nice to see that you've got your incorporation and you're a society now, and hopefully people, if we can advertise in their newsletter, put it on the electronic board, COP, looking for volunteers, etc., contact number or whatever, and stuff. But I think the Citizens on Patrol is a vital tool in any community, because I mean the RCMP, the bylaw can't be there all the time, and I mean if just having you guys out there is decrease some of the criminal activity around town, that's just spectacular and excellent. And hopefully you get lots of volunteers and people.
And last time we did this, we were only functioning for 3 years, and it dropped enough to keep us another 20 years. So,
Yeah. So congratulations, and
Thanks.
thank you for sticking with it to get that going again.
Again, thanks. That's awesome. Good to see. You said you guys, you need some funding.
yes.
Kind of dollar figure are you looking at there?
Right now, we're in the whole $150. So, but at one point, I remember back then, we did have a slush fund. We would supplement people's gas.
Yeah.
And at the price of gas right now, it would be nice to supplement that. I can imagine for $2,500, we could probably get, if we need radios for 2 teams being out in one night, there will be some asks. But right at this point, because we've been functioning under the radar, we've been able to create communications, but this shed is gonna cost money, eventually it's gonna cost more money, so.
And just out of curiosity, how many people do you have?
17.
17?
17.
And now, does everybody have to get this certification?
Yes.
To be? Okay. Is that different from before? Like, was it
Yes,
just?
it is quite different.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
before, I think anybody could go around and,
Yeah.
but now you have, and how long does that certification,
As long as you do your 5 hours every month, it's in perpetuity.
okay.
Yeah.
How long does it take to get the certification in the first place?
We did a train the trainer, how long? 4 hours? 4 or 5 hours?
Oh, okay, so it's not a lot of.
No, it's not a lot,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, well, it's good to hear, and yeah, it's nice that you guys are helping out.
So
the other-
any insomniacs, feel free to contact us. All right, thank you. I think Ron has a few things he wants to add to it too. Oh, Teresa?
Go ahead.
There, please. Oh, he's not. Oh, yeah, no, I just wanted to say it's great to see you guys are up and running. That's fantastic to hear. And, it's a huge deterrent because, it just shows that eyes are watching, right?
Yeah.
And it instills that we're not an easy target anymore. So
Yeah,
great to see.
yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor Dunn.
Just wondering though, because they at one time had some pretty high-tech equipment, is that gone by the wayside, or is that,
No idea what happened to it.
so is that right?
Yeah, because I know,
So-
like, it's changed. We don't have to go to the detachment, check our bags out. We don't have to sign in. The RCMP used to assign us the radios. None of that happens anymore. So, we run our group pretty low-key. We only have one communication access for everybody, and we've weeded out the people that were there to, you know, cause grief. And I really like our team right now. Everybody, it seems to be at all different places. We're not all the same, so I just like the way it's working out so far. So hopefully we can continue to provide an essential service to this community.
Councillor
just-
Martins, oh, sorry.
I just had one more question then. Is there a provincial funding or structure for Citizens on Patrol?
No, we do have to do our own fundraising. They do cover the insurance for our members. As soon as your criminal record check is done, then you're on their system as being covered by insurance. So anything that does happen, we also use the same kind of standard as first aiders. The Good Samaritan Act covers us on a lot of stuff, so. But we're not supposed to be out of our vehicles until we start doing foot and bike patrols.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So really grateful. I'll echo what every councillor here has said. Tammy, the stats that you provided, what was that time frame? Like down 48?
January to September,
January to September of 2023.
correct.
Okay. Secondly, you mentioned a forum. What is a forum? Like, is it a town hall meeting? Is it?
Yeah, basically, yeah, just everybody can come together and, you know, let us know what's going on, and we can piggyback off of that with our stolen goods and do recruitment at the same time. But as a forum, we're more concerned about drawing information out of the community about the thefts that are going on, property damage, people who don't feel they have a voice, that maybe we can start giving them one. There's all kinds of thefts going on in our community. It's not just what's happening at the businesses, you know. People are having their sheds broke into, and we've even found neon paint on sheds. I think you posted those pictures, didn't you? The neon paint that when you reflect? Yeah, it reflects when you put a flashlight on it. It wasn't there previously, but now it is. So they're actually marking these. And hopefully if we have a forum, then, you know, we can share a lot more information about like my brain doesn't go where these guys' brains do. So if we can get people in a room to talk together about all different types of property crime, I'm sure you guys have property crime at the town yard over there, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on, and maybe there's some tips that we can get in from a COPA, you know, on marking our goods, doing inventories, you know, all that stuff that we can pass on to the business community at the forum.
Okay, sounds like a sophisticated criminality, but if you have an open forum, what's to say that someone from their group won't attend and then learn what you're doing, you know what I mean?
What's that?
You know, just,
What if the bad guys
yeah,
come?
correct,
Perfect,
what he said.
perfect. Yeah, we want them there. We want them to know that we're getting as sophisticated as they are.
So I know you've put out an invite, but I haven't heard about this. Have you advertised it? Have
No,
you-
this is all just part of a preliminary. You know, we gotta get our first meeting out of the way. We're gonna have to set it up maybe February, March, and then we'll get everybody together and we'll have a community meeting. I don't think we've ever really had one on this level, so I'm thinking it'll be a great idea. We gotta find venue, we gotta find out how many people, get it advertised, and as the host of it, I think that it would be a great segue into a lot of different other issues as well, so.
You've done so much in such a short time. And finally, you mentioned that our peace officer Bloom has applied for a grant. Do you know when you'll hear back on that?
That was right when we were getting started, wasn't it? Yeah, so it's probably been a year. So we haven't heard back whether it was successful, if there's more available.
I don't think it was. I know that one originally back a year and a half
November,
ago. Yeah, I don't think we got anything for that one.
Do you know if it was even applied for?
I believe it was. Yeah, but
Okay,
they're,
well-
again, like a lot of these grants, they're like oversubscribed 10 times, right? And-
Yeah. Well,
I think though that if the grant is still available, we could for sure go for it again. And now that you have your certification and
Yes.
everything, that adds weight to it. Because
Yeah.
before it's like, well, they haven't got anything yet, so that kind of
Well,
disqualifies.
that grant I think he talked about was basically for like cameras. We'd like to put cameras on the streets so that if somebody has time to just sit and monitor them, then we don't actually have to be on the streets at the same time, you know? And then, the thing with cameras on the different streets is it might not be that moment that you catch somebody, but somebody will find somebody broke into, you know, St. Andrew's School, and we can find the vehicle that they were in parked down at TD Bank. You know, cameras and that information is so sophisticated, and having somebody watching and knowing what's going on, well, that's the same vehicle that was over at, you know, behind Brandy's breaking in. You know, so that's,
See a trend, right?
yeah,
It starts,
exactly,
you know.
so,
I remember when there was one on Main Street, or maybe there was more than one, but, and then we had the cable TV at that time, and.
yeah, you could just turn on and watch it, yeah.
Watching that.
I think we better cut this off a little bit, because we could go on for a long time, but thank you very much for coming in, and if we have too many cameras, I don't think Ron would ever sleep. He'd be up watching them all night.
I know he's.
I'll sell them to you.
All right.
Guys, I'll keep it short. And certainly the aim isn't to beat anybody up, but for the past few months, the citizens on patrol, we've been keeping a close eye on the pawn shop, the activities of the pawn shop. And the pawn shop's something we need to talk about. We need to decide whether or not we want that business in our community, because they continue to this day to contribute to the crime and the theft. And not only that, but they're not held accountable to the same standard my business is in terms of how they operate and their fire protection. And I can't have a chainsaw in my store, for example, that has full of fuel in the fuel tank, yet they do in their store. But through that process of auditing and observing the pawn shop, we came across a number of items that were coming out of my store, but they weren't being stolen from my store. And I went through and we investigated and had a look at the video footage. And to make a long story short, we determined that it was a town employee coming in, buying, charging to the town paying for it, and then he had an account set up at the pawn shop and pawning those items off for cash for his personal gain. And I know, you know, I've heard through the grapevine that that employee's employment opportunity has since been terminated, and I support that. But there's a whole bunch of questions. I have a whole bunch of questions. You know, for starters, how does the pawn shop continue to go and operate in our community unchecked? We need to have a look at that. We need to talk about that. The internal controls and inventory controls, in here I printed out, we must well hang on to that, a list of all the items purchased from my store over the last year. The town spent $38,000 in my store. It's all documented in there. But is there a process internally that accounts for those purchases, and who's managing the inventories, and who's tracking the tools, and where do they go, and is that inventory being audited? We need to have a look at that. And that process of purchasing, no longer do I agree with having a town employee come into my store, use, you know, in this case, Rick as the PO, and then purchase something from my store unapproved. There should be a process in place where the purchase is approved beforehand, not after. You know, I don't know any business, including mine, where you buy something and then you submit for approval, right? Approval comes before the purchase. And I would certainly encourage the town to have a look at that. And I want to talk about it because, in fact, I'll put the account on hold in my store if that's what it takes. But something has to change, in my opinion. And it just, anybody can come into my store, walk up to the cashier, buy a $300 Milwaukee tool set, use Rick as the PO, and walk out of the store with it. And there's no accountability. Appears to be no accountability as to who or where it goes. And I think there's some value in having a look at that. And again, the aim isn't to beat anybody up. I'm extremely concerned and tired of the pawn shop, and we need to have a look at that. And Judy once mentioned January is business. What is business license month? Is that what you were saying? Yeah. Okay. Well, then before any licenses are renewed, we need to have a look and discuss whether or not we want that business in our community. As far as I'm concerned, it's got to go. And And in terms of the purchasing process, we need to talk about that. And I'd like some guidance that I can pass on to my team in the event that a town employee comes in and they're buying from my store. Without using Rick as the, entered in the.
Could I ask the delegation not to use any staff names in this public forum, please?
Sure.
Yeah, and the town will look at its processes, we can assure you that. That's something that we'll look at to make sure.
And what about the pawn shop? When can we sit down and talk about the pawn shop?
That's something that we'll certainly have to discuss and look at, and I don't know if we're there yet. We'd have to look at, you know, the options of how to work that.
And what about the items that were pawned off at the pawn shop? I was in there today, they're not in there. Has the town recovered those stolen items? Or has he sold them?
Again, I don't know those level of details right now, but yeah.
Somebody will get back to me and we'll talk about it?
It's a personnel matter dealing with an identifiable.
It's a town taxpayer matter, and we're
right.
also entitled to.
Right,
to gain
so
an
you can speak to
understanding of what
me,
you're doing.
it should be dealt with in this form.
Well, you should have come and saw me already. You sent me an email the other day encouraging me not to say anything, and I haven't. But, you know, even you've terminated the employee, again, which I support. But I was expecting somebody to at least come and talk to me about it. But anyhow, I don't argue with you guys. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just, it's a serious issue. I think criminal charges should be pursued. I'm also curious to know whether or not you're doing that. But it can't go unchecked, in my opinion.
Councillor Dunn?
So Ron, I'm just wondering, in your conversations with the RCMP, what have they, like?
I haven't talked to the RCMP other than, the only person I've talked to was Alan Bloom because I needed his assistance. When I went, attempted initially to talk to the pawn shop guy about it, he wouldn't help me. So I went and got Alan, and with his help, he came over and we determined, and at that time figured out what was going on. Initially, I wasn't sure if they were items that were purchased, taken over to the arena, and then stolen from the arena and pawned off. And so I needed Alan's assistance. As far as the RCMP, Ellen was going to talk to the RCMP about it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, if it's something that the RCMP can also address from their end in terms of keeping a closer watch, because I know in Edmonton, that's one of the things city police do.
Well, a year ago in our discussions, the RCMP local guys committed to bringing the team up out of Edmonton, and that hasn't happened.
No.
That was a year ago.
Okay. Thanks.
Anyhow, I don't have anything other to say other than I'm expecting some discussion and some follow-up and some guidance as to what do you want me to do in my store when the guys come in, if they continue to shop in my store. What process do you want me to follow with the town employees that are buying tools and buying stuff from the store?
And we'll get back to you on that.
Okay. And hang on to that. That's the purchases from last year.
Thanks for coming in, Ron, and what you're doing out there. Keep track on. All right, is there anybody else as a public delegation? You're ready for a break, is it? Okay, well, let's take 10 minutes.